Today, we're going to be diving into the origin of BlackRock's Bitcoin pivot because this week we found out that Michael Saylor had a private meeting with Larry Fink before they launched their BlackRock ETF. And we have some digging to do because today BlackRock just announced that they're launching, or rather it was leaked, that they're launching a new Bitcoin fixed income product. Yes, you heard that right. BlackRock is going to try to generate yield on your Bitcoin. And on the same day, this morning, we also heard that Vanguard is rumored to be listing the Bitcoin ETFs. The real question is all this related to Michael Saylor and Larry's secret meeting 2 years ago, where they started the institutional wave for Bitcoin? And I know for the more skeptical Bitcoiners, this is leading many people to wonder, what is their Bitcoin end game? So let's dive into this clip and we will chat about it.
He used to bring in all these different people who were big believers in it, like Michael Saylor from MicroStrategies. I mean, Michael came to our office when the stock was in the teens, but he was a huge believer in it, transformed his company. I mean, I could just say all these different people came in and talked. And then we became, we became a leader in working with the SEC and in trying to move forward in this. And fast forward now a little more than 18 months when we first started creating a Bitcoin ETF. Today IBIT is $86 billion.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that conversation didn't sound too nefarious, but when you really dig into everything, of course, if you're not a fan of Larry Fink, there's probably a lot of concerns here. Anyways, I'm not alone. I got Chris, the smarter version of me on the show today. And then we got TC, the creator of Time Chain Calendar, coming on the show. Just dropped a new app for Time Chain Calendar. We're going to be chatting about that all in the culture. Anyways, I think on the surface, this video, and I'm going to open this up very quickly before I dive into all of the source material that follows this, is I think a lot of us don't really have, or rather, we are very skeptical of Larry Fink. Obviously, BlackRock is one of the biggest corporations in the world. There's a lot of things that we don't agree with what he does as Bitcoiners. And we were all wondering when BlackRock got into Bitcoin, whether Larry and BlackRock and co are actually Bitcoiners. Now, you could take just a surface level view of this and essentially say, this meeting wasn't probably as nefarious as a lot of us would like to believe it is. It's just Saylor going in and orange pilling him, just showing him, or rather doing what he's done with MicroStrategy at large and just doing the corporate Bitcoin pitch to Larry Fink. And since he was so successful in it, that's probably where the weight came in and actually, kind of changed his mind here. Though it is pretty interesting that Michael Saylor was one of the people that changed his mind. And you could argue that that's probably why they understood Bitcoin. Obviously, Saylor's been one of the best educators in the space for the last couple of years. Everyone loves the Saylor, metaphors and stuff like that. He's a literal rocket scientist able to explain Bitcoin in a way that we can do here on Simply Bitcoin. The more nefarious take of this is when you remember some of the fine print in the BlackRock ETF filing, specifically the one that kind of sticks out in my mind is when BlackRock said essentially, like, if there's a fork in the code, the BlackRock users, we can pick whatever fork we want. Doesn't necessarily mean we pick the right code. And it really made everyone freak out and say, oh my God, BlackRock wants to fork Bitcoin. They want to add more than 21 million coins to the protocol. And so that's kind of, I think, where the conversation really leads, because you're just wondering, and maybe this is just because Bitcoiners, we are very skeptical. We are always thinking in game theory terms. We're always thinking like, we're battle hardened at this point. We're always wondering where the attack vectors are. So before I go any further, I do want to open this up. Just watching that clip on the surface, what is your initial gut level reaction to what Larry Fink said? Is there something nefarious here, or is it really, being blown out of proportion? So Chris, I'm gonna go to you first. What is your view? What is your thoughts when you hear that clip?
Opti, I think I'm a little worried about you. I think you're contributing to wrongthink. I don't think you should ever criticize Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock and the chair, the interim chair of the WF. Guys, I'm completely kidding. You know, I don't trust Larry Fink as far as I could throw the guy. Yeah, he's obviously hopping on the Bitcoin bandwagon in the last few years, but he's pumping his own bags. I mean, IBIT was and is the most popular ETF, I think, of all time. I think the numbers are finally in from January of last year. And so obviously, I don't think him or his counterparts or his peers thought that Bitcoin and the Bitcoin ETF was going to be as popular as it was. And now that it is, they're definitely shifting their tune to be like, yo, we like money. We like collecting rent on the money that you give us. Obviously, they're collecting a yield on the AP or the rate that they're charging, the interest rate that they're charging for you to hold your money at BlackRock. And I do think we're at like that weird state in Bitcoin. And I'm sure TC and Opti, you guys would agree that like people in general, and this is just as a whole, the world have been kind of like lulled into this fake sense of security. When it comes to the stock market, it all goes up. Housing market, it all goes up. Bitcoin, it all goes up. And I don't think people attribute the risks to holding like hard, true Bitcoin where you self-custody it yourself. Yeah, and there's always going to be people that make excuses like, well, what if I fuck up? What if I send it to the wrong address? What if I set up my cold card or whatever wallet I have wrong and then I can't recover it? Yes, those are risks. But I think they downplay the risks of, like you said, Opti, of them forking the code and being like, yo, we're using this BlackRock Bitcoin version instead of the original BTC that we know and love. And also, I don't think they attribute the risk to third-party vendors. Like, obviously, BlackRock, the majority of their coins are held with Coinbase. I know that there was a filing probably last summer to try and diversify that. I don't know if they were going to do their own custody or if they were going to do it, offshoot it to Fidelity because they do it their own way.
I think they use Fidelity and maybe a third one as well.
I thought there was 3 in the listing, but anyway, that's besides the point. I do the final point that I'll say here is I do think a lot of people are like, oh, like everything's good. You buy the ETF, yeah, I'm happy to pay a fee, and like, you know, I'm all good. Like they keep my Bitcoin safe, but I think that's the wrong way to think about it. I mean, it takes, you know, you could say the wrong thing online. You could think the wrong thing. I mean, whatever political party's in power, and they can basically forfeit your assets. Where when you hold Bitcoin yourself in self-custody, there's no one that can take it from you. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, totally. And I think you said something that a lot of us Bitcoiners really underestimate, and it is the power of greed. And in this sense, the power of aligned incentives. Like I've been saying for a while, that, hey, as much as I am skeptical of Larry Fink and his dealings and what his personal opinions are around Bitcoin, obviously he's now the co-chair of, the World Economic Forum, which is like another rabbit hole that we've touched on the show before. I think or rather BlackRock in general, is way more aligned with Bitcoin succeeding right now than they are in doing something as nefarious as maybe trying to hard fork Bitcoin. It's like, again, as you said, they have the best performing ETF launch out of any of the BlackRock products. It's the best performing ETF ever. And I don't think they're going to, kill the golden goose, so to speak. They see that there is a lot of demand here. They see that they can make some money here. And so they are aligned with Bitcoiners in the sense that they want to see this product succeed. Now, whether we would tell you guys to buy the IBIT ETF is a totally different conversation. You guys know my view. I've been saying it on the show constantly. It's like, just buy spot Bitcoin. That's like, that's the move you should be doing. I still think they want to see the number go up. Like they're just as aligned as we are to see their product succeed, which is obviously based on Bitcoin and seeing Bitcoin succeed as well. So maybe that's the less cynical take of this. Obviously, you can watch this and be like, oh, the corporations are co-opting Bitcoin. They're colluding to have some nefarious end game on Bitcoin. Though it also does kind of bring up the idea of, Saylor did just last week said there's going to be a $200 trillion credit market on top of Bitcoin. And you're like, oh man, debt products with Bitcoin, like this doesn't end well. All right, guys, this is just like recreating the system we have now on Bitcoin. And it does raise a lot of questions. Now, I don't think Saylor's a bad actor per se. I'm just saying that there is a lot of things that you can question. Anyways, TC, what's your thoughts on this? Are you thinking this is nefarious or is just a simple orange pilling conversation?
I mean, we're watching real time the orange pilling of Wall Street. They're no different. They're gonna approach Bitcoin as novices. They're gonna learn They're going to have their own learning curve. These guys, over the last couple of years, have gone deeply into the building phase that a lot of Bitcoiners find themselves in, and their form of building is the Wall Street variety, and it's going to have its own set of incentives they're going to follow. No doubt, they are going to find some alignment with Bitcoiners out there in the world, and also, no doubt, they'll have some incentives that are conflicting at some point with what I would imagine, where I stand, basically. And I just think it's going to be really interesting to watch. They're going to encounter challenges. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to make decisions that, we're all yet to find out what the implications are. So, I really do kind of take a very kind of like arm's distance look at these things, because I usually just come back to the sort of honey badger Bitcoin doesn't really care what they're doing. There's going to be, no doubt, surprises down the road, and there's going to be things we all have to consider as a result of these participants, because they're big participants. But I just keep coming back to the foundational basics. Bitcoin really doesn't care. Bitcoin is resilient. It is anti-fragile, and I think it's going to withstand a lot of shenanigans from the Wall Street folks, and we get to watch it. Grab your popcorn.
Yeah, 100%. I know that's been one of the kind of leading conversations on Twitter right now is the corporations coming to Bitcoin a good thing? Is this a bad thing? And I like TC, I'm kind of been on the side of like, guys, I think this was just how it was always going to happen. This is just like par for the course. This is Bitcoin winning. Anyways, I do want to expand a little more on some source material, some interesting stuff happening in regards to BlackRock. So Eric Balkunas, senior ETF analyst at Bloomberg, shared this yesterday night. And he goes, BlackRock registered the new iShares Bitcoin Premium ETF filing coming soon. This is a covered call Bitcoin strategy in order to give Bitcoin some yield. So Wall Street's coming in. They are always looking for yield products. And now it seems like, once this actually goes through, we can actually break down exactly what this product is. But it looks like they are, trying to attract more investors into Bitcoin and Bitcoin products. And then British Hodl, I think, had a great take on this. He goes, BlackRock is launching a Bitcoin income fund. I assume they'll be generating max front month yield on IBIT, and I predict it will be a monster product. I also assume somewhere around the 3% a month yield backed by the full power of BlackRock. And he goes, well done, team. So again, as Bitcoin is maturing, as Wall Street starts to enter the Bitcoin realm, you're seeing that Bitcoin is being financialized in real time. Now, again, as we were kind of talking about a minute ago, I'm not the biggest fan of these Wall Street products. I am a spot Bitcoin maxi. I'm a, just buy Bitcoin, take it into custody type person. But again, there is a need for these products. And I think this is probably where the conversation with Larry Fink and Saylor really led to, is what Saylor's been doing with strategy. All the products that Strategy has created is literally designed and packaged for Wall Street to get interest. And so it looks like BlackRock is taking not only their IBIT ETF kind of interest, but now they're expanding their product features for more capital to come in. And so I do agree with British Hodl here in essentially saying this will probably be a monster product. We are probably going to see a lot more interest come into Bitcoin. Obviously, this might be launched in, next year, 2026. We still don't have a deadline on this, but it is kind of a greater indicator of the themes coming down the pipeline, which is Wall Street does have an appetite for Bitcoin. And again, whether this is a good or bad thing is a totally different conversation. It just shows they want Bitcoin product. They want the Bitcoin gains, and they're going to do whatever they can to try to get your Bitcoin. Now, my more cynical take this morning was like, yeah, bro, let's trust BlackRock to hold your Bitcoin so that you can get some yield. Sounds like a perfectly rational thought here. No, I'm trolling. I would not do this. I do not recommend this. Now, the next topic here is, again, similar into the vein. Remember the saga around Vanguard when BlackRock launched their ETF, that literally the Vanguard CEO basically had to step down. And a lot of us Bitcoiners were saying it was because they slow walked the launch of the Bitcoin ETF products. They were actually very vocal in saying that they're never going to touch the Bitcoin ETF products. This is for the protection of their investors, et cetera, et cetera. And then like a month later, he was out. And they got the new CEO is literally the guy that helped Larry Fink launch the Bitcoin ETFs through BlackRock. So now we have a new rumor. I'm calling it a rumor because it's an unfounded, I'm not going to say unfounded source. It's coming from an anonymous person close to the Vanguard team. And this is the headline that Vanguard eyes crypto ETF access for brokerage clients. The $10 trillion mutual fund giant has stayed on the sidelines of crypto until now. So we don't have a date here. It seems like the conversations are brewing, but there is some interesting stuff in this article. And this is Crypto in America. There's no that's what I'm saying. There's no real concrete source here. It's not coming from a well-established source here. They essentially talked to someone close to Vanguard, and he said something on the lines of, I'm speaking on the condition of anonymity. But here we go. According to the source familiar with the company's plan, again, who spoke on the condition of anonymity, Vanguard has begun laying the groundwork and holding external discussions in response to strong client demand for digital assets in a shifting regulatory environment. The source said there are currently no plans for Vanguard to launch its own products. Instead, the firm is considering letting brokerage customers access select third-party crypto ETFs, though it remains unclear when a decision will be made or which products will be offered. Quote, they're being very methodical in their approach, understanding the dynamics have been changing since 2024. And then, of course, they didn't give an actual response to this. So we're hearing rumors that the institutions are, as I've been saying for a while on the show, starting to bend the knee. The infamous Bitcoin backflips from Wall Street are happening in real time. It looks like everyone is now having to seriously consider Bitcoin, whether they want to or not. Remember, Jamie Dimon has been very infamous for saying, look, I will not, endorse you holding Bitcoin, but like cigarettes, if you want to use them, we will offer you these products. And so it looks like Vanguard is also bending the knee in the similar way. And the big tell of this article, this anonymous source, is really that there is a huge client demand for these products. And this is what we've been saying for a while. Look, whether you're a fan of Wall Street or Wall Street creating Bitcoin products or Bitcoin being financialized, the point remains the same. There is a huge appetite for Bitcoin because when you understand the macro landscape going on, you're not getting returns like you do in Bitcoin. Even though this year, I was actually doing some chart bowling this morning, and the returns we've seen in Bitcoin year to date is 20% or something like that. Even though to us, that's like nothing, and we are all withdrawing from dopamine and we want the price to pump. To Wall Street, 20% returns is great. They're like, okay, hey, look, even if it just does what Saylor's been saying, 29% compounding annual growth rate, they'll take that every single day of the week. And now they have to seriously look into Bitcoin. They have to seriously consider launching these products, whether they want to or not. And this is just the power of Bitcoin. This is what we mean when we say there is aligned incentives in Bitcoin. Obviously, you guys know me. I'm a number go up maxi at this point. I'm not even saying that with any shame here. I want to see the price go up. I think the price of Bitcoin is important. And you're seeing that other people are looking at Bitcoin and they also want to get into the space. Now, of course, there's a lot of red tape coming from traditional financial institutions getting into Bitcoin. But now, as I've been saying, 2025 is going to be the year where we start to see the boat shift here. And these institutions move very slowly. So, hey, it's been a slow, 9 months, almost 10 months here in the year of 2025. But I think we're going to start seeing the splash come in. Remember, I think only 3% of institutions have actually invested in Bitcoin, or 3% of institutional hedge fund managers invested in Bitcoin. And they basically have 99% of their capital sitting on the sidelines. So there's a tidal wave of capital preparing to come into Bitcoin. And I wouldn't be using these products, but hey, I'm all for a new demand coming into Bitcoin in whatever angle it comes from. So maybe retail is not doing Google searches around Bitcoin, but there is a new retail vehicle coming through just traditional trading accounts and trading brokerages coming into Bitcoin. Because you got to remember, this isn't BlackRock buying millions of coins. This isn't Vanguard themselves buying Bitcoin. It's their clients demanding Bitcoin exposure. It's their clients demanding Bitcoin products. Now, I'm not the biggest Bitcoin exposure guy. Again, I'm a spot Bitcoin. This is what you should be doing. But it just shows the appetite's there. And I think it's only going to increase. So that's my spiel on it. I'm going to go to TC and then we'll go to Chris. So TC, what's your thoughts on the BlackRock yield product and Vanguard bending the knee?
Well, like with all things, there's a meme for that. And I think the one for this is you get Bitcoin at the price you deserve. Everyone eventually is going to get it. And Vanguard's just, they're lagging a little bit behind their peers over there at BlackRock and the rest of the Wall Street firms that jumped in with ETFs. I don't think anybody doubted this when the ETFs launched a year and a half ago. I don't think anyone doubted that eventually all these firms would, open their doors to their customers getting access to this stuff. It's just, it's really a major cultural shift for these Wall Street guys. And it speaks to Bitcoin still being misunderstood by so many. It speaks to, the amount of time it actually takes for people to feel comfortable and wrap their head around the fact that something they were warned about for so many years was so risky is actually a really solid, thing to actually even consider holding. So I just think, again, we're watching this all in real time. Grab your popcorn. It's comical. It's a little bit of a drama, but surely I think it's all part of a lot of other, let's just say, American investors' own timeline where they wouldn't have even considered Bitcoin until they actually see it as an option in their brokerage account. And so consider all the people who are customers of Vanguard who just have taken the trusted nod from their broker that they should stay away from this. And, you can see how shortly from now, a lot of those people will be getting a different message. So it's all part of just the story, the timeline, the amount of time it takes for people to actually understand what's going on here and see the value for themselves.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I'm always reminded of just kind of the general idea that most people aren't as nimble as, say, the average Bitcoiner, just like retail Bitcoiners, where it's, hey, what, like, literally, like, what do we have to lose at this point? It's like our money's broken. You can't save in dollars. Like, we probably don't. I'm reminded of my story where I didn't have enough money to even open a brokerage account when I first got into Bitcoin. I literally got laughed out of Charles Schwab when I tried to open an account in like 2016, 2017. They're like, yeah, bro, you're too broke. You can't even open an account.
I got $50. They're like,
yeah, dude, no, literally. For you guys who don't know, I went to Charles Schwab and I wanted to trade some stonks because that's what rich people do, right? And I had like $250 at the time. This is before Robinhood was a thing, and I'm like, all right, let's get to trading. And the guy was like, yeah, you need $2,500 to even open an account. I'm like, oh, okay, later, guys. Like, peace out. It was, at least I tried. But what you're seeing from, people with capital, institutions, et cetera, like they do have a lot to lose. Embracing Bitcoin up until 2024, like it was metaphorically career suicide. Like you're not out here on Twitter embracing Bitcoin with Vanguard or BlackRock or, Charles Schwab behind your name saying, yeah, you should be buying some Bitcoin. But now we're starting to see they are moving slower, but it is becoming one of those things where, as TC said, like if your financial advisor isn't recommending Bitcoin at this point, or at least ETFs, like what are you paying him to do? Bitcoin is very clearly winning on just the chart itself. Like, yeah, this year's been a little lackluster so far. We're heading into Q4, which is hopefully going to be a good end of the year. But the gains are undeniable if you are just looking at it from a purely fiat gain of like, yo, the price has gone up, like 600% in the last 5 years. That's unmatched on Wall Street. You got to be freaking like the best trader, and you got to be locked into some good startups coming up. I think the only thing that's done really good the last year or two is like Palantir, and Nvidia. Like that's the only place you get these kinds of returns is going into sectors that either historically make some money, defense contractors, or into a new kind of niche, which is the AI bubble that we're seeing. So anyways, I went on a rant there. Chris, what's your thoughts on this? First of all, are you buying the BlackRock yield product? And what's your thoughts on Vanguard finally, or rather potentially bending the knee and allowing their customers to buy Bitcoin?
No, not buying the BlackRock product, the income yield product.
Wait, you don't trust Larry Fink to give you yield, dude? Come on.
I didn't say that, dude. I didn't say that. I'm not, don't say anything crazy here. No, I actually I want to go back to one last point that you were mentioning in the previous article we were talking about. I will say that I know that right now Larry's pumping his bags, but I will say Wall Street is very maniacal that they will make money in the ups and downs. So like even like a perfect example, like if you listen to your uncle listens to MSNBC, not that you should do that. That's bad for your health and bad for your mentality. But like when Jim Cramer's like, buy this stock, he's literally, him and his compadres are selling into the stock. And then when he's saying to sell, a lot of times he's buying, although it's Jim Cramer. So, the reverse Cramer is a thing. But a lot of times when you see these analysts on MSNBC or whatever, basically they're kind of being paid by a large corporation in order to shill their bags one way or the other. So they're telling you to buy while they're selling and dumping on retail. And they're telling you to sell when they're buying up, the bags at the bottom. So that take that with a grain of salt from what you hear from mainstream media. The one thing I will say, like a fool and his Bitcoin are separated when you use leverage. So all these like yield products, I know they're just small versions of leverage, but like, I mean, what were we talking about in 4 years ago or like 2.5, 3 years ago when BlockFi, Gemini, 3 Arrows Capital, all these things, they were offering 6 or 7% yield and they ended up putting all these risky bets and they ended up blowing up. Do I think BlackRock and all these people are going to blow up as well? No, but I think TC, Opti, and myself, if we're going to lend you Bitcoin, it's going to be at a much, much higher interest rate than 3%. And I understand in fiat world, it's like, oh, right now T-bills are giving 4.5% or thereabout. Bank accounts, like high yield saving accounts, are giving 3.8. So, and like Bitcoin is now offering 3%. But I do think people are going to pile into this product, and that's actually going to drive yields down. But I do not think that is a useful resource of capital in the sense of like, yeah, they're giving you 2% yield, or like they're starting at 3%. It's going to get driven down. Let's just say it goes down to 2 for easy numbers sake. But like inflation's running at 7%. And there's going to obviously be stipulations like hey, it's supposed to track Bitcoin, but you don't know what they're doing on the back end. They're lending it out, or what they're doing. You hope they're fully collateralizing it and then basically just scraping yield off of. But that yield needs to come from somewhere. So I'm assuming they're going to be taking this Bitcoin, putting into treasury bonds or treasury bills, and then paying you the gap of the difference. So like I said, they pay you 3% while they're putting in US treasury bills at 4%. But obviously you run into the mix match or the issue where they're saying it's a Bitcoin yield fund, but do they have the Bitcoin or not? And that becomes the issue if Bitcoin's price begins to run. People are thinking, oh, well, Bitcoin's running, so now I have this. But it's a fiat game. And that's all I'm saying. If I were to yield out my Bitcoin, it would be 20% plus. And not saying I will do that, but that's the kind of level of risk that I would want to at least a bare minimum 20%. And then I get it. All the Wall Street guys are like, Chris, you asking for 20% is an asinine, insane. We would never give you that. It's like, yeah, well, you're not getting my freaking Bitcoin then. So like, that's the way that I look at it. And even if you were to do any yield products, and this is a warning to everyone, not financial advice, but financial advice, but not financial advice. If you are going to if you're going to do something in this yield farming space, like it should be a small fraction of your Bitcoin that if it disappears, you are not wrecked. It doesn't wreck your family, your heirs, your loved ones. Like it should be a small, minuscule part of your portfolio of Bitcoin. Not saying I advocate doing that, but if you're going to do it, don't go like, 100% of your stack, at 20x leverage or whatever it is. So that's just my 2 cents. Like I said, not financial advice, but.
Dude, 32 sats is generational wealth. It shouldn't even be 32 sats. What are we talking about here? But Chris, you reminded me of something that I saw this morning, guys. I know the price is dumping on us today, but I think we got a Hail Mary here and we are actually going to be saved. So here's Jim Cramer this morning. American Bitcoin investors could potentially lose everything, says Jim Cramer. So guys, bull run saved. I don't know if he's saying
October's back, baby. A few days away.
Back.
October's back.
Yeah, inverse Cramer in effect. The headline, I don't know if he means like the American Bitcoin company, which is the Trump family Bitcoin mining company, or if he's meaning American Bitcoin investors like all of us here. But hey, I'll take the more bullish one. If he's saying we're all going to lose everything, then guys, bull run has not been canceled. Thank you, Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer, if you can hear me, I am super happy that you are bearish on Bitcoin. So anyways, before I keep going, guys, I do want to remind you guys to smash the like button, of course, comment, and hit the subscribe button. We are dropping the best content possible. Wow, Nico's distracting me over here. He's being a bum over here, not working and doing other things. He gets so frustrated. Just smash the like button, comment on the show, and of course hit the subscribe button. We're dropping the best content. Also, our boys over at Bitcoin Well are creating the best Bitcoin exchange possible, and they do it right. They make sure that you never lose some Bitcoin because they never hold your Bitcoin. They've never rug pulled Bitcoin, and they will never lose Bitcoin because, again, once you send them your fiat, it goes straight into your cold storage. This is the best way to get your Bitcoin. And of course, go to, which one is it? Oh, I'm on the old one. If you want to get your fiat into, they changed the site on me. Anyways, get in touch with the Bitcoin Infinite Well team, and you can smash by $50,000 or more of Bitcoin at a time. With that being said, let's get into the rest of the show. We got some good stuff for you. So, one, Jack Mallers is making the case for the dollar being backed by Bitcoin. We have some news coming out of Google. It seems like they are partnering with a Bitcoin mining company. And then, of course, we are going to chat about time chain calendar. If you want to get all of the Bitcoin stats on your phone, make sure you check out Time Chain Calendar. We'll be back in 1 minute.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates. Instead of just writing them down on paper, paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo, and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on Stampseed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the Stampseed.com store.
All right, guys, I'm going to change it up a little bit in honor of TC here today. So I am not on Clark Moody's, I don't even know what we call it, dashboard, the Clark Moody dashboard. We are going to use timechaincalendar.com, and you get some good visuals. And TC, the block just came in, so I don't think we're going to get a block live in the segment. It literally just
a block can happen anytime. You never know.
I agree. Anyways, look, how do I read? Okay, here we go. The current Bitcoin price is 109,586, guys. Buy the dip. It is buying the dip season. It is dumping on us, so you get cheap sats. You get Bitcoin on discount. The current market cap is 2.18 trillion. Let's see. What are some other numbers that I usually say here? Actually, we'll just keep it moving. The hash rate is at 1 zeta hash, officially above 1 zeta hash, guys. It's getting crazy out here. Anyways, what else do we got in here? Total supply 19.92 million Bitcoin, which is 94.88% of the total Bitcoin supply. And I was telling TC before the show, the only thing that's here that I usually say is the decline from all-time high, but I don't think we need to feel that type of pain today. So let's keep it moving. Jack Mallers was just on Natalie Brunell, and he's making the case for how the dollar and Bitcoin survive together. I know, a very spicy take here, because a lot of Bitcoiners believe Bitcoin will take over the world reserve currency status. I also believe that eventually. But Jack Mallers makes a perfect case for how this is probably going to have in the short term. So let's listen to this.
There's a little over $900 trillion worth of stuff us humans own today. That's money, sovereign debt, equities, real estate, precious metals, collectibles, art, Bitcoin, et cetera, et cetera. About half of that, Natalie, we've monetized. We use as a savings account.
Yep.
So I would say the dollar will increasingly not be used for that. I don't think sovereign debt will either. I think we'll continue to see a rotation into money that carries the properties that the market demands, which is fixed supply, some scarcity element, divisibility, transportability, and ability to sovereignly hold it on your own. I think Bitcoin is going to be the best competitor to go after that market. Can the dollar remain the world reserve currency? Sure. Right? Like, listen, if the United States buys enough gold and Bitcoin, can Trump one day come out and say, we've devalued the debt enough, we own enough Bitcoin, all your dollars are backed by Bitcoin, consider problem solved? Yeah, of course. If they come out, devalue the debt enough and build a Bitcoin position that's $50 trillion over the next 10 years, problem solved. All your dollars are backed by Bitcoin. So that keeps the dollars the world reserve currency because your hot dog on the corner is priced in dollars. But the reality is the capital, the value that humans are creating, saving, and then later exchanging is actually persisted in an instrument that isn't the dollar. There's just, that's the world I think we're very rapidly heading towards.
I couldn't agree more. I know a lot of Bitcoiners might take that view as being like blasphemy here. It's like, no, Bitcoin's going to become the world reserve currency, bro. It's coded in. This is the world we're going to. I do agree on a long enough time frame. Like someone in the chat says, yeah, in like 50 years, that's when we get there. So when we are actually boomers, when we're 80 plus is when we'll probably see that. But what Jack is saying is really this idea that I've been kind of talking about on the show is a bimetal period that we are kind of heading into, or rather we're literally in it. And so in the past, if you don't understand what bimetallism means, in the past you use silver to transact and gold to save in. And then we got into the fiat system, and then you would probably save in gold and use dollars to transact. And now we're just updating this to maybe in the short term, we use dollars to pay for our hot dogs and our coffee. But everyone starts to realize that you want to save in Bitcoin. And then eventually we'll get to a point where Bitcoin is that peer-to-peer money. And I don't think that that really negates the Bitcoin thesis at all. I think, again, it kind of goes into this is a stepwise function. This is how it's going to happen. I know a lot of us want to see like a catastrophic change or a huge exponential change here, and I think we are living it. But as TC keeps saying, as I keep saying on the show, we're living through essentially like a slowed down train wreck where we know where this is headed, but in the day to day, the moments by moments, the minutes by minutes, things seem to move very slowly. And I think we are in this scenario right now where dollars will continue to be the world reserve currency. But as we're seeing moves from different nation states about adding, or rather backing their fiat currencies with Bitcoin, it's becoming a fact in the moment that there's Bitcoin to save in, and then there's a dollar. And I think, like even stable coins like Tether are a huge example of that. People do want a dollar type mechanism backed by the dollar. It's no secret that Tether is literally, I think at this point, like one of the world's richest companies by customer or employees here. Like there is a real need for something backed with Bitcoin, something that stores your value. And I don't think that that negates the theory that Bitcoin is the world reserve currency. This is the bimetallism period of Bitcoin. And I think this is something we're going to be living towards, or rather living through for the next 10, 20 years until everyone finally wakes up to Bitcoin being the best money. Until then, it's going to be a slow process of people understanding that Bitcoin is the best thing to be transacting with. So I fully endorse what Jack Mallers is saying. I think this is exactly what's playing out. And maybe it's not playing out exactly as a lot of Bitcoiners in the early days wanted it to, but this is the reality of what's happening right now. So I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. I just think this is what is, and I'm a what is maxi. I'm a reality maxi here, and this is what I'm seeing as well. We're seeing this moment in time where people are going to continue to transact into their local currencies, but you save in Bitcoin. And eventually these things will be kind of melded together, as we're seeing from the Trump administration. And I don't think that that means Bitcoin is not what we say it is. I just think this is where we are. So anyways, Let's go. I'm gonna go with Chris here because Chris always gives a higher IQ take than mine, maybe by like 2 IQ points. But what's your thoughts on this
My
clip?
87 IQ take here is
It's better than 42.
we're going through like there's these two common economic laws or principles called Gresham's law and Thier's law. So Gresham's law is bad money drives out good money. That's the common one, meaning that like basically like the US dollar drove out, like we got off the gold standard and basically people are transacting in dollars instead of gold, even though gold was the superior money. So we're kind of experiencing that now. So like a lot of people save in Bitcoin or gold or hard assets, real estate, whatever it may be. So they're saving in hard assets and they're spending the bad money. Thier's law is the opposite. So good money drives out bad. That's the reverse, that when basically vendors or people that are selling goods no longer want the bad money. So they won't accept dollars or any fiat currency. They only want Bitcoin or gold or real estate. You know, I don't know how you fractionalize real estate, but I'm sure people are going to try and figure out that. But basically that's the reverse. And a lot of
timeshares, bro. Timeshares.
That's the way to do it. No, but basically we're going through that. And I think a lot of Bitcoiners get to the Thier's law of it all way sooner than anyone else or the normies friends. So like a lot of times, you know, I know, oh my God, Zapright, like there's a way that you can pay with fiat, but they charge a premium, or like, hey, it's like, if you want to buy this book, it's, you know, I don't know, 21,000 sats. But if you want to pay with dollars, it's 21,000 sats plus a 5%, you know, increase in price in fiat terms. So basically a lot of Bitcoiners or people that sell goods and services understand that Bitcoin's the good money and don't look at it like selling it for a discount for Bitcoin. Look at it as it increasing or putting a premium on the fiat that you receive. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Anyways, TC, what's your thoughts on this?
I mean, this is a topic that's sort of got a generational time frame to it. I think that basically when you're kind of early in your Bitcoin journey, it's also revolutionary, these perspectives, and you tend to think that it's just right on the brink of, you know, the whole world flipping upside down. But reality is that this is like a slow boiling frog situation. I think the older generation's just going to keep getting boiled, and it's the younger generation that maybe is starting to really see this clearly today, and you know, they've got to grow up. I think we're talking about decades before we see real shifts as far as, you know, what is used as reserve currency globally. That being said, the other hand, you have all kinds of forces emerging in the world, like all the capital controls that all these different countries and jurisdictions are implementing. You look over there at Europe, they're just trying to roll out digital ID and CBDCs. I mean, I think on a daily basis, there's more and more things helping spotlight the problem that Bitcoin is the solution to. That, in addition to obviously the inflation and debasement of everyone's currency everywhere. So, you know, basically, I think you just have a slow rollover where people open their eyes and they realize what's going on. It's going to take a full generation, I think, before you see these nation states figure out, you know, really what's in their best interest. I think you got a lot of old people running these countries still that are stuck in their old ways, and they're kind of looking at it like Vanguard has, and they're yet to really fully come around to realizing the solution that Bitcoin offers.
Yeah, no, 100%. It actually reminds me of a conversation I had with one of my buddies. He's a Bitcoiner. Well, you know, I met him through Bitcoin, and he's one of my buddies. It's not like my old friends that's a Bitcoiner. And he was asking me the question. He's like, what do you think is a time frame till we get like central banks actually, like, well, he said a significant central bank actually buying Bitcoin. And I'm like, dude, you know, short term, maybe 5 years, long term, like 10 to 15. I think they're going to kind of latch on to the money printer for as long as possible until there's literally, you know, no hope left for them to continue to control the money that will see them actually capitulate on Bitcoin. And he was like, really, dude, you think 5 to 10 years like minimum? And I'm like, yeah, dude, I think that what we're seeing is a lot of the people that are in power begrudgingly kind of sort of accepting Bitcoin, but we're not going to see a full-blown capitulation from fiat currencies for a long time to come. And again, I don't think that means that the Bitcoin thesis is wrong or that Bitcoin won't become the world reserve currency. It's just, as TC was saying, when you first come into Bitcoin, you got this view like, oh my goodness, it is over for fiat. And I know a lot of our friends are kind of fiat doomers on Twitter, and they're always like, the dollar is going into a debt spiral tomorrow, bro. Like, make sure you prepare. And I think there's a lot of tools left in the tool bag to keep this fiat Ponzi going for a long time. And it really also goes into the institutions can keep going in the same route they've been going as long as people believe in it. And I don't know about you, but if you look at it kind of normie conversations or mainstream conversations, either revolving around economics or revolving around the economy, I think there's still a huge leap for them to fully become Bitcoiners. There's still a lot of trust in the institutions. And unless something devastating happens, unless something huge and catastrophic happens, we are not going to see a, 0 to 1 moment of people adopting Bitcoin. It's going to be a slow trickle, and that might take a lot longer than we think it will. But that just means we have a longer chance to stack Bitcoin, to acquire Bitcoin, to make sure that we are in a safe position if something ever does blow up. So there's some good with the bad. I think, as I've been saying on the show for a while, I think a lot of us Bitcoiners really need to kind of lock in for the long run. You need to kind of get in your mind. I was literally telling Nico this the other day. I'm like, bro, we just got to get into the mind frame of we're going to be doing this for the rest of our lives and accept that and, go through the pain and the perseverance and the battles and all of the hardship that comes with fighting for something, for a peaceful revolution for the rest of your life. Like, we're in this for the long run. And if you think it's almost going back to the Bitcoin price, like if you think the Bitcoin price is going to go, to 100 million like I do overnight, then maybe your thesis is a little off and you probably should temper your expectations so that you are prepared to do this for a lot longer than you probably imagined. So,
I mean,
that's my off the cuff rant.
Overnight. It's just going to be in 50 years from now that it does that.
Yeah. It is going to happen at one point. It just might take 50 years from now. So
check your time preference.
Yeah, check your time preference. It's very simple, guys. All right, boys and girls, mainly boys, but some girls. Let's dive into and really kind of see what is going on with Google buying a Bitcoin mining company. Yeah, it's not fake news. It is very interesting. So let's play the transition and we'll be right back.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones? They don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
All right, guys, we're back. Google made another interesting move this week that I think is kind of indicator of what's to come. They previously had a stake in TerraWolf that was, I think, kind of going unnoticed. I know Google, maybe you could argue is not the biggest fan of Bitcoin yet, but they are making moves into Bitcoin, which is, I think, the kind of whole thesis of today's show is that, yeah, maybe a lot of these companies aren't fully embracing Bitcoin directly, but they are starting to get Bitcoin exposure via different ways, whether that's the Bitcoin treasury stocks, whether that's buying stocks in Bitcoin mining companies, or, you know, maybe buying Metaplanet, something like that. They're just like, okay, hey, well, maybe we'll get some ETFs. Maybe we'll buy some stocks in the treasury plays. Maybe we'll get a stake in a Bitcoin mining company. But I think this move is a little interesting in the sense that it's not directly just buying shares in a mining company. It is the avenue that they're doing this with. So Google buys in as this Bitcoin miner lands $3 billion HPC deal. Bitcoin miner and data center operator Cipher Mining announced a 10-year high-performance computing co-location agreement with FluidStack, and Google will support the build-out in exchange for a stake in Cipher. CIFR stock fell as Bitcoin retreated. So, hey, the market wasn't that bullish on this move. But yesterday, Cipher Mining announced it agreed to deliver 168 megawatts of IT and data computing capacity to FluidStack at its Barber Lake site. FluidStack is an AI cloud platform that builds and operates HPC clusters for major companies. The contract guarantees $3 billion in revenue over the initial 10-year term. The deal includes the option for 2 5-year extensions that could bring total contracted revenue to over $7 billion. And then it kind of just goes on, whatever. Google plans to backstop the $1.4 billion of FluidStack's lease obligations to support project-related debt financing. In exchange, Google will receive warrants to acquire 24 million shares of Cipher Mining common stock, which equates to about 5.4% pro forma equity ownership stake. And then again, they did agree to a similar deal with TerraWolf. And so anyways, why do I think this is such a big move? Well, we've seen our boys over at HIVE do something very similar, where you're starting to see that Bitcoin mining companies are starting to have a symbiotic relationship with AI data centers. And now we're seeing, obviously, Google, huge backers of AI, and everyone thinks the AI cycle is like the biggest, thing in the room right now. But I think what a lot of people are missing is this idea that AI data centers and Bitcoin miners are essentially going to become one. And that if you have a Bitcoin mining, infrastructure or company, then linking it with AI is going to be a good move. And if you're an AI data center, then you might be looking into Bitcoin miners. Now, our friends over at HIVE have been leading this for a while. They have been doing this, and now it's starting to seem like the industry or AI data centers are starting to catch on. And it really just goes to show that if you are a Bitcoiner, I know there's a lot of conversations around AI kind of taking over all our jobs and stuff, and AI is going to change the world fundamentally. And AI is the big technological driver of this new era. I love seeing AI and Bitcoin become one, because I'm not the biggest fan of AI. I kind of just look at it as like a glorified search engine. But you're starting to see that as energy demand goes up for these AI data centers, that they do need to find ways to offset their downtime. And if you plug in Bitcoin miners, it's like, this is just going to show that one zeta hash of Bitcoin hash rate is going to continue to go up, because I fully believe that Bitcoin miners are going to become the new energy producers in the future, or rather, energy producers are going to have to get into Bitcoin mining. And I think what Google is doing, as much as I'm not the biggest fan of Google, I'm just like, I use Gmail for work just because I have to, but hey, love them. I still love them. But you're starting to see that the industry leaders are taking interest into Bitcoin in various forms. So they might not all be directly investing in Bitcoin, spot Bitcoin, but they're all trying to position themselves around Chris says I gotta swap the proto. Dude, I only do it for work. Okay, it's just a work email. All right. Okay. Everyone is starting to position themselves around Bitcoin in various different ways, and I think that's just going to show, or rather, is showing that Bitcoin is fundamentally shifting the culture, and you have to embrace Bitcoin at in some way. Obviously, we would love to see more people holding Bitcoin directly, spot Bitcoin, transacting Bitcoin peer to peer. But it does take a lot of big money to come in the infrastructure of Bitcoin to continue to press Bitcoin in the eyes of normies and in the eyes of the institutional leaders. And hey, Google's been on the vanguard of this, at least in terms of the big companies doing this. And hey, I'm bullish for it. Bitcoin and energy, Bitcoin and AI. I think it's a match made in heaven, and we're starting to see it's happening in real time. So bullish for the hash rate. I'm going to say bullish on the hash rate here. But let's go to TC. What's your thoughts on this, man?
I mean, absolutely. Anyone who needs to consume a large amount of energy, let alone people who are building giant facilities to run compute in the cloud, I mean, you're going to see an opportunity and a benefit for integrating Bitcoin mining. It's going to be a story we're going to see over and over again. I think AI is just the sort of use case of the moment, and years from now, there will be other use cases where there's the need to capitalize on more energy on the grid and do big build outs for these kinds of things. I think Bitcoin mining just has a phenomenal role to play in just the continued expansion of civilization in the 21st century. So AI, absolutely, they're going to be gobbling up so much energy with all of this demand for more and more compute. And you're going to need Bitcoin mining to do these build outs, to get these grids stabilized, all the load balancing functions that it can do. So it's incredibly bullish, and it's a no brainer kind of synergy there between those two different activities. So it doesn't surprise me. And, you said something too, Opti, that I believe it really sticks with me, is that Bitcoin miners are really going to evolve into being energy producers and managers, and vice versa. I think people who produce energy are all going to find this same benefit of Bitcoin mining. So we'll see all the major, oil producers and refiners and all these grid operators figure this out over the next several years and decades. I think this is the very beginning of this next phase of Bitcoin's mining story.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more with that. Chris, what's your thoughts on this, bro?
I think energy and Bitcoin mining are obviously, they go hand in hand, because obviously the only input that you can affect is basically the price of energy that you have for Bitcoin mining, outside of negotiating the price of the machines themselves. So with that being said, Bitcoin miners are basically always trying to use waste energy. And what I mean by that is, when the energy grid, when they're producing energy, it's actually like a sine wave. I know people, never thought they were going to use sine and cosine ever again after leaving high school. But basically what you're trying to do is trying to take, there's a base load of energy. Like, we're in this house right now, we have lights on, we're using these computers, these webcams and stuff like that. And that's a base load that everyone in a city or town or whatever is using. But when you design a power plant, you're looking for two things. You're looking for peak loads, or you're looking for base loads, or highest base load during the day, average highest base load. And they're also looking for peak loads. So highest base load is like when everyone gets home from work, they all turn on their lights, they all turn on the AC, they all do these different things. And basically the load goes up. And obviously in the mornings too, people are waking up, they're turning on their lights, they're, turning on the heat, whatever it may be. So normally there's peaks in the mornings and right when people get home. And then that's kind of the base load. But obviously on colder days, you need it to be hotter and use more energy, or on hotter days, you need to be cooler with AC and stuff like that. Well, the point being is there's many times when the energy is dropping, or the usage is not meeting the demand, or the supply is not meeting the demand. So what you can do is use the Bitcoin miners to soak up the difference. So as the power plants are producing this much and then the world is only using this much, you can use Bitcoin mining to use the whole amount of load. And then as the usage of this goes up, you can reduce the amount of Bitcoin miners being used. But with that being said, you're basically using the waste energy that otherwise the plant would just be, venting out or wasting, and you can use it with Bitcoin miners. And that's like the supply and demand of Bitcoin mining, that you can ramp them up, you can turn them down. And those are the things that we talk about with load balancing, especially if you want to look at like Ergot, Texas is a great example, where they have a more, I'd say capitalistic or free market load, where like the town can request Bitcoin miners to ramp down in the event when there was the snowstorm, I think 2 winters ago, when basically the grid needed more power as there was basically a bunch of down power lines and stuff like that. They needed more energy, so the Bitcoin miners turned off, and ultimately they were paying the Bitcoin miners to ramp down, but in order to get their energy for usage for emergency services and such.
Yeah, 100%. And you made me think of, you know how we hear so much flack and FUD around Bitcoin mining, using all of the world's energy. I know I've seen some headlines. Yeah, I know I've seen some headlines in regards to AI data centers as well, but I'm not sure if you're combining these two, whether that FUD is going to increase or whether this is going to kind of like whitewash the Bitcoin mining space. Like, hey, look, AI is the new future bubble of the world, or not bubble, sorry, the new future technology of the world, and you're offsetting that with Bitcoin mining. And I'm wondering if the narrative around Bitcoin mining will shift if there is this like symbiotic relationship with AI, or if it's going to kind of accelerate and get worse. So I don't know which one's going to do better for each other. It's like, is this going to help the AI narrative, or is the AI narrative going to help the Bitcoin mining narrative, or is it just going to be bad for all of us here?
Or maybe the AI growth just helps people understand that just sheer use of a lot of energy is not inherently bad.
Yeah.
So maybe it helps people reframe their own thinking around energy use.
I mean, that would be my hope. You guys know me. I used to say this all the time. I'm for as much energy use as possible. Energy is good. I do not want to go back into the Stone Ages. I think we should be using more energy, as much energy as possible. That's always been my take. And then the second thought I had while we were talking about this is with these big, very well capitalized companies coming into the Bitcoin mining space in various ways, like the Bitcoin mining industry, I think, is just going to become even more competitive than it already is. It's going to be like probably one of the hardest industries to be profitable and to be an industry leader in, just because there's more capital coming in. It's already a ruthless industry. It's probably one of the hardest jobs right now is to be a Bitcoin miner. Not just in Bitcoin, but at large, like to be competitive in Bitcoin mining right now is I think it's probably next to none at this point. And the fact that we see some of these Bitcoin mining companies not only maintain their competitive lead, but just start to kind of break away when you're on the verge of having even more capital influx coming into it. It's just like the Bitcoin miners don't get enough applause here. Like they're the ones really holding it down for every single one of us. And we almost like forget about Bitcoin miners all the time, especially on the show. We try to talk about Bitcoin miners, but like, no one that watches our show really cares about Bitcoin miners. And we're always like, hey, dude, remember the miners, man. The miners are the ones really holding it down for everyone here. They're the ones that are literally backing this whole network, guys. So maybe what's today's date? Is there an official holiday today? Today is officially a thank your miner, thank your Bitcoin miner day here, September 26th. Because I have the power. I decree it at this point. Anyways, let's get into the culture here, and we got a fun segment for you guys. I'm sure you guys are gonna like this. So we'll be right back in 1 second.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitcoinBend.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Ben's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank, and you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys. Tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth, and join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io. Join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
Okay, boys and girls, we have the creator of Time Chain Calendar with us, TC. So TC, let's just start for the people that aren't familiar with your work. What is Time Chain Calendar? And then we'll move on to your latest developments.
Well, thank you, Opti. This is what we are looking at right now. This is the website, timechaincalendar.com. It is a live data dashboard of Bitcoin. We're looking at that big block height number right now, which is telling you basically exactly how far the chain of Bitcoin has come. And this is also a really a special thing to me, which is this interface of circles that is trying to visually represent some very key features of Bitcoin's protocol. So to me, this is both a functional daily dashboard to get updates about where Bitcoin is and a whole variety of data pertinent to Bitcoin, but it's also sort of a life perspective kind of thing. I called it Time Chain Calendar for a reason, just like a calendar where you look at it each day to kind of get your point of reference for where you are in the week, in the month, in the year. Here we are, and we're at this particular block within this particular difficulty epoch, within this particular halving epoch, within the entire almost 17 years of supply issuance lifetime of Bitcoin. So it's about perspective. It's about learning a little bit more about Bitcoin's protocol, and it's a killer dashboard.
Let's go. Yeah. Love it. I love it. Oh, wait, did we? No.
Wait,
didn't
I
get
thought we
box.
got a block.
Well, you were exploring little features there. No, you're mousing
Yeah.
over. If you mouse over
Oh,
those
there
little
you go.
tiny
Okay.
blocks, those are past blocks in the last 24 hours. And it lets you kind of get a quick view about a particular block. Like you could see that big gap between the blocks. This is another thing that visualization shows you how the blocks are actually completely uneven. They could happen at any time. And so that visualization kind of reminds you about the randomness of Bitcoin blocks.
Well, yeah, the randomness, guys. We haven't seen a block in 20 minutes. It's over.
Yeah, Bitcoin's dead.
I'm trolling, guys.
No, I mean, hey, I think that's actually a valuable thing. We talk about 10-minute blocks all the time
Yeah.
in Bitcoin. It's kind of a meme, honestly, that the blocks are 10 minutes.
Yeah, you can see average block time 9 minutes 31 seconds. So
Right. So it's actually something really interesting to pay attention to, because you'll notice, like right now, it is 9 minutes and 31 seconds on average. It's been more than half of the difficulty period already. That red circle tracks the difficulty period, and that's roughly 2 weeks. So we got less than a week to go. There's about 5 days or so to go until the next difficulty adjustment. And based on the average block time, whether it's faster or slower than 10 minutes, the difficulty is going to go up or down. Well, we've had the difficulty go up several difficulty adjustments in a row, and the blocks are still coming in faster than 10 minutes. And guess what, Opti and Chris? That's where the hash rate is derived from.
Mhm.
The hash rate is estimated based on that pace of work with the particular known difficulty that's on the network right now.
Well, it is very interesting considering the conversation we just had and seeing the blocks come in so quickly. It just goes to show, like, there has there is a lot of hash rate being put on the network that is hashing Bitcoin right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if we, in the next couple of weeks or so, find out that something huge has been built out. I know all year we've been hearing from the HIVE team. They've been building out their mining infrastructure all year long. They've been kicking ass over there. And every other company is doing something similar, whether it's, the Trump's American Bitcoin mining, company coming out, or all these other smaller kind of stories coming out. You are seeing like the hash rate is going crazy. And it reminds me of one of my buddies that hangs out in the chat, Matthew J. He's like, dude, we're going to get to 1 Zeta hash this year. And he was saying that like the beginning of the year, and we finally get there. And it's like, okay, all right. He predicted it was going to happen, and you're seeing it happen in real time. We're above 1 Zeta hash. The blocks are coming in quicker. Wow, I'm blanking on it. The block retargeting, what is it? Hash rate difficulty
adjustment.
Yeah, the difficulty adjustment in what you said, a week. Here, actually, let me look at this.
About 5 days or so.
So what's this? 788 blocks. So
5 days from now, approximately.
Yeah, 5 days. That's going to adjust since there's so much hash rate coming on the network. See, guys, just come over to Time Chain Calendar and you can learn so much. Okay.
Also, one other thing too, like even your cursors right, or the bottom right, it shows like the bottom right block shows the average time since Genesis. The bottom right, far bottom right. So it shows 36 seconds. So obviously the network is always trying to target 10 minutes. But overall, because of Bitcoin's growth, and you, me, and TC all know that like Bitcoin's always going up. That's the running joke. But whether that's nodes, whether that's the amount of hash rate coming on the network, whether that's the price in fiat, like everything's going up and to the right. Like even the Genesis, like we're running faster than the 10-minute average time.
Yeah, and you would expect that because the hash rate has just been constantly growing. It's one of the most bullish signals in Bitcoin. If you keep an eye on that hash rate and that it going up is actual verification that there's just more people competing to win the next block. I mean, that's the thing that's kind of stunning to me about it, is that you can actually follow this over time. And regardless of whatever the market's doing, you can see that the people that are actually investing capital and trying to, we were just talking about Google investing in a Bitcoin miner that's going to help out, AI data centers. I mean, all of that activity is a real representation of, deep business interests and people actually really taking their bullishness about Bitcoin and expressing it as actual action that impacts the pace of the blocks. So to me, the whole thing is just really interconnected, and that's really some of the value of watching.
There we go. We
got a block.
We just got a block.
And actually, it's funny. I'm running my own mempool instance, and there was only like a 3-second delay, so it's pretty quick. It's pretty snappy.
Well, no, I mean, I have the mobile app right over
Yeah.
here, and I actually saw that block about 6 or 7 seconds.
All right,
before
that's
it
snappy.
showed.
That's good. That's crazy.
Okay, well, hey, perfect segue here, TC, is the mobile app. So let me go over here. What's going on here, man? What did you build?
It's almost 3 years ago that I created the website, and I've continued to develop it, and it keeps evolving. And that's a wonderful thing. But I have just launched mobile apps on iOS and Android that bring this whole experience to your mobile device in a whole new way. Just a side note, the website functions really well on a mobile phone already using a progressive web app approach. But this is a full-blown native app that takes advantage of some native features in a really nice way, and just is a whole kind of next evolutionary step of the time chain calendar concept. So essentially, you can download it on your iOS or Android device, and you can basically have this in your pocket. You can keep track of the blockchain. You can search the blocks, go back in time. It has a really killer block estimation feature where you can search by block number or by date and actually estimate into the future when that block's going to hit. Say you're planning a big block 1 million party or something like that. You're going to need to kind of estimate when that's going to happen. And then there's all these other really cool native features that you can unlock with a subscription. And there's a camera that lets you snap photos with the live block data and the price right on top of your photos. Snap a picture of your newborn child and capture that block stamp or that price stamp when that moment occurs. There's push notifications, there's widgets. It's really a whole next experience. That's really what the mobile app is all about.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I was downloading it, and I downloaded it this morning, and I didn't have enough time to figure out the widgets. So I'm like, yeah, man, time change calendar on iOS is a widget on one of my home screens or whatever. Like, that'd be super cool. Though I have one question here, because I didn't get enough time to really dive down into the app, but could you get a notification for every block coming in? Is that set up on there?
You're not the first person who's asked. They actually, this is something that some crazy people want. You want to actually get a push notification on every block. I would urge you to reconsider that. But I have had that request. So what you can do is that the app does let you set block alerts, and you can set up to 10 of them. So basically, as you get your notifications, you can set subsequent ones. But I'll tell you, currently that feature is implemented as just kind of a trigger-based feature. So you set the specific number that you want to be alerted of. And there's going to be a whole update that's going to bring recurring block alerts in. And I will consider giving you the doom button that buzzes you every single block. I'm not going to guarantee I'm going to actually make that feature, because I'll tell you, as the developer, it's my job to make sure the user doesn't shoot themselves in the foot. I'm not sure you actually want to get 144 push notifications on average every day. So I'm going to think about that one.
I don't think you've seen my phone, bro. My phone is blowing up all day.
Opti likes the ESPN style update. Every touchdown scored on a weekend for football.
No, guys. My phone blows up all day, but guess what? I have it on mute, so I don't get those notifications. But I look at it, I'm like, okay, cool. I put the phone down, I clear it, and 2 minutes later, I got another 40 notifications on my phone. So hey, what's one more notification on there, TC?
You know what would be cool, Opti, is maybe like you could set it for like the next hour, you get buzzed every block, and then you could just kind of turn that on again and again. That'd be kind of fun.
Dude, give me every block, bro. No,
Okay.
I actually don't need that. I don't need that. Yeah, I don't need that. It should be an option though. You should just put it in there just as an option. Do it like a nuke option, like don't do this unless you're a psychopath.
No, you'll switch it on and it'll say, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
Say yes, and then it'll say, "Are you really sure?" Okay. All right, I'm starting to warm up to the idea.
100%. All right. I do want to mention, guys, of course, if you're on the audio, you can download this for iOS and Android. But TC, let's talk about the subscription one more time, because that does give you extra features, and maybe people want those features and they think they're going to get it right when they download the app.
Right. So essentially, the app, you get the beautiful dashboard executed for mobile right on the home screen of the app. That's all for free with the download.
Oh, my bad.
That crashed my website.
Oh, my bad. I don't know what's going on here.
That's the famous halving video that crashed my website on the halving, last halving, year and a half ago.
Oh my God, dude! I couldn't hear you guys for a second. That was I wasn't expecting that. Okay,
so just to finish the subscription, the subscription is essentially like inside access to my laboratory of experiments, and I'm basically trying to branch out into all the features that the mobile platform offers to give you more connectivity to Bitcoin. So, for instance, these push notifications, if you want to know specific blocks, doesn't matter if you're in the grocery store or doing whatever you're doing, you're going to get that push notification the moment it happens. If you set your mining pool, it can notify you the moment your mining pool hits a block. If you turn on calendar alerts, you can configure a time of day that you want to receive updates about historical or important things that happened in Bitcoin on that day in the past. There's just a whole bunch of ways to kind of connect this awareness and this data to your daily experience. I really like the camera. I think it's a really cool thing because a lot of people used time chain calendar over the last few years to do just that. Like their kid was born and they wanted to look up the block height, or they finish a piece of art and they want to stamp it with the block height. Well, the camera feature lets you just reach in your pocket, pull that out, snap your picture, and you've got the block height, the price just embedded right there on the picture or in video too. You know, Opti, you could do little vlog rants about Bitcoin with a live price feed going. It's a cool feature.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. That is super
Yeah, and
dope.
TC, I'll add one more thing too. Like sometimes in the moment, whether, it's a life event, you're busy, you don't take out your phone or whatever, but you can always go back and like search the time, and then like that'll tell you what block it was when that occurred, which is really cool as well.
Dude, ain't nobody got time for all that, Chris. That's why you use the camera.
Somebody was talking to me about it, and they were saying, block heights are definitely really cool. There's sometimes you really will remember a certain block height, but how much does the price kind of stick in your head? Like everybody remembers 58K. Everybody remembers when we dipped down to 16 or when we peaked out at 69. And, in some ways that's kind of almost a stickier little piece of data to tie in with your memories.
Man.
So of course, like that's why those were the first 2 bits of data that I put on that feature. It's the block height and it's the price. And to snap that and merge that bit of data with your moment, I already get excited just thinking about years from now, looking back at my old photos and having that sort of memory hook there where, I think all Bitcoiners know that experience of looking back and going, oh my God, look at where the price was at that time. So it's kind of an interesting way to look at that feature. Did we lose Opti? Did he fall into the matrix?
I think he fell into the matrix. I think he's here, but his
my camera, I guess it wasn't charged. Whatever. We're back.
Your camera got jealous of the time chain calendar camera.
Yeah, the camera got jealous, and I had to plug it in. So we'll get it going. Sorry, guys. I think we're back. Is this back? Is it alive? Yeah, it's alive. All right, give me 1 second. I'll make sure you guys see my ugly mug in 4K. There we go. Okay. All right, man. Yeah, that's super, super cool, TC, and super awesome to see you building on it. And it really kind of goes into just the whole thesis of Bitcoiners. Like literally, what's the meme? What's the recent meme? You can just build things, and if people like it, they'll push you along on the journey. And I think this is one of those examples of something that you saw you wanted and you just went out and built it. Though I think the real question is, TC, were you able to code when you started, or did you just kind of vibe code this?
I have been doing code almost 2 decades, man. It would have been
cool if you vibe coded it.
No, I don't think it would be as cool if it was vibe coded. Vibe coding is a very fun sort of cultural thing right now, but the truth is quality software requires some real care, and that requires a little bit of experience. I think there's some phenomenal things that people have vibe coded, but it really does kind of become properly formed and polished when somebody actually knows the entire software process for building and putting things out. That being said, I learned an absolute ton doing this mobile app. This is my first mobile app. I'd never done an iOS or an Android app before. And there's several other aspects of the project that I absolutely tackled brand new challenges and overcame them doing this. So, I think it speaks to the moment right now, which is we're living in an incredible time for doing anything with technology. And, if you have an idea, you should absolutely jump in and vibe code it and see how far you get. But it's also just a real testament to some of this technology, like the AI stuff, how it really can help you overcome what would otherwise be major roadblocks. It's crazy. I think back about times in the past where it was like, okay, I need to spend a couple years studying something. No, you don't. Today, you don't. You just jump in and you start learning on the fly.
Yeah, man, 100%. Love to see it. All right, TC, let's do one last plug before we wrap up today's show. Where can they find you, and where can they find Time Chain Calendar?
Well, I scored this domain, timechaincalendar.com, on the web. You can find the beautiful dashboard and all that information right there anytime for free, anywhere in the world. The mobile app, the brand new goodness, is out globally on the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store, download for iOS and Android. There's much more coming, guys. I really appreciate you bringing me on, and I just want to let people know that this is just the beginning. There's round after round of more stuff on its way. The pipeline is filled.
Yeah, well, TC, it's like we were joking before the show. You know, for us here at Simply, it feels the same way. We have just gotten from 0 to 1, and you were saying the same thing about Time Chain Calendar. It's like I climbed what you say? I climbed to base camp, and I still have to climb up Mount Everest. And man,
Exactly.
It always feels like that as an entrepreneur, someone building something. Like, okay, I'm really, really excited about the accomplishments I've made, but man, there's still so much more to come and so much more to climb. So, you know, I feel you, and I'm glad to be in the trenches with you, bro. So this is just part of Bitcoin life, man. What a trip.
Absolutely.
All righty then, guys. Well, TC, thanks for coming on today. Chris, thank you so much for filling in today. And here, let me just pull you guys off for a second. I'll wrap up the show. Just hang out for 1 second. Guys, you already know the deal. It's Friday. We made it through another week here at Simply Bitcoin. Okay, later, Chris. I think that's Chris. Yeah, later, dude. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys again, of course. Got to remind you, smash the like button, comment on the show. What do you think about the show? And then, of course, hit the subscribe button. We are dropping the best content, the most content. There is more shows than just the live show. Check that out. And we'll be back on Monday at roughly 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, get outside, get some sun, eat some good food, call your loved one, stack some sats, all that good stuff. It's been your boy Opti, and I will see you on Monday. Later, man.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.